Good evening and welcome to your most authoritative evening political show in the country. We're coming to you from our studios in a building 48 Swanika Street here in Accra. We're live on Facebook at Pan African Television. We're also live on YouTube at Pan African Television. You can join in the conversation by sending your views, comments, and contributions on our WhatsApp stroke text line. We'll make a time and read all those out for you. You can as well leave your comments, questions, suggestions, and all of that on our Facebook live post, and we also read all those out for you. Those of you watching us on Facebook, you can share the Facebook live for other people to get an opportunity to watch tonight's edition of the program. Tonight on Hot News, we are discussing the very first Delegate Congress of the Socialist Forum of Ghana. I'm sure you know about the Socialist Forum of Ghana. They are transitioning, or they are transmogrifying from Socialist Forum of Ghana to Socialist Movement of Ghana. I'm sure those of you who watch Pan-African Television, those of you who are ardent viewers of Pan-African Television, might have probably seen the adverts being played on the channel. Before I introduce my guest for the discussion to start on this program, let's go and watch the advert that is being played on Pan-African Television with regards to this Congress coming up tomorrow. Is it tomorrow? It will start from probably on Friday, yes, to Sunday at Winneba. Let's go and watch that. We'll be right back.
After 20 years of activism, the Socialist Forum of Ghana is in transition to the Socialist Movement of Ghana, which will hold its first National Delegate Congress in Winneba from Friday, 30th July to Sunday, 1st August 2021.
The Congress will be held under the broad theme, a new platform for socialist transformation, and will be attended by delegates from all the collectives of the Socialist Forum of Ghana spread over all of the country. This conference would approve a new constitution for the Socialist Movement of Ghana and also adopt a working program for the movement. It will consider international and national issues as well as prepare the framework for the mobilization of the youth and women. This is indeed a historic Congress.
This is a time for the reawakening of a socialist movement of Ghana. It is time for the realization of the vision of Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and our forebears who fought to liberate Africa from the yoke of slavery and colonialism. It is time to build the Africa we want and to struggle for a world free from oppression and exploitation.
Fraternal progressive organizations, the trade unions, women and youth organizations have been invited to the opening of this historic Congress on Saturday, 31st July 2021 at the Windy Bay Lodge in Winneba, 8:30 a.m. There is victory for us.
You're still watching Hot News right here on Pan African Television with me, Justice Appiah, joined in the studio by Blaise Tulo, who happens to be the convener of the Accra Collective of the Socialist Forum of Ghana. Blaise, good evening.
Good evening,
How are you doing?
I'm good.
It's been a while on this platform.
Yeah, it's always good to be here at Pan African Television.
Right. I'll come back to you. Also in the studio is Nana Appiah, who is a member of the Standing Committee of the Socialist Forum of Ghana, soon to be Socialist Movement of Ghana. Nana, good evening.
Good evening, my brother.
Thank you so much for joining us on this show.
It's always
you
a
appeared
pleasure.
here just once. I'm glad you're here again. Anyway, right. I'll start with Blaise. On this, can you tell us a bit more about Socialist Forum of Ghana and their activities. What is Socialist Forum of Ghana about?
Yeah, we are a political organization, no doubt about that. We are a political organization to the extent that we are interested in the economic, social, and cultural well-being of the working people of our country and also of the world. You know, we are a political organization to the extent that we are always ready to make an intervention in the socio-economic development of our people, paying close attention to the role of workers in the production process and their own exploitation and class oppression. And to that extent, we are always interested in making an intervention. So we are, no doubt about it, a political organization.
Well, here in Ghana, of course, a lot of people, if you say political organization, people think that Socialist Forum of Ghana probably is an organization or a political institution that may or has been contesting for elections in this country. If you elaborate more on what you meant by Socialist Forum of Ghana being a political organization.
By our assessment, by our analysis, and by our study of society, our study of the global situation, our study of our own country, we have come to realize that you can describe society basically in three ways. Okay, our society is marred by oppression, exploitation, and then inequality. And because of this analysis, we think that it is possible as a political organization that we can make changes. But these changes can only come to the extent that we understand our global and national situation. Okay. So because of these three dimensions that I've mentioned, as an organization, we are always ready to make an intervention, okay, to the political scope in terms of the exploitation, oppression, and inequality that workers of the world and workers of our country are facing. And so we are always fighting and advocating and pushing, making a study of their situation, and we want to make changes.
So if I understand you properly, Socialist Forum of Ghana is not a political party. It's not an organization that has contested for elections in this country. But then I want to ask, what activities have you engaged in, and how has the forum been able to help Ghanaians in the picture you just painted?
So that is the misconception. It's not only political parties that are political instruments. Right. Okay. And then historically, and we can say confidently, the political parties, bourgeois political parties, are election machines who are just interested in contesting elections, okay, within the backdrop of the class oppression and inequality. They exploit the situation and then they win election, and there are no results. What we are interested in is raising the political consciousness of the working class to understand the role that our economy.
If you say the working class, who are the working class?
Yeah, those who,
for the sake of our viewers.
Yeah, those who work, okay, those who work to produce our material life, those who work for us to the cocoa industry, okay, the mines, the teachers, the nurses, the market women, the farmers. These are the category of people who, according to our view and our analysis, are those working to produce our material life. Okay, and to that extent, we are ready to see what role they play, what position they occupy in the production process, and how they benefit or otherwise from this production. Our analysis is that they work, but they do not, harness the maximum potential that they can. They work for a few people in our country and of the world to benefit. And so we are interested in raising our awareness. We're interested in organizing this group of people, and we're interested in struggling with them in order to overthrow the system that is responsible for the oppression and the inequality that we have, by our study, concluded on.
What is wrong with the system you've just mentioned? Because, well, there may be people who also think that this system is one that they're very comfortable with, especially those who are benefiting from the system. What at all is wrong? I mean, what's wrong with the system?
And that is why we have taken a class position.
Right.
Okay. We are not a neutral organization. We are an organization that have taken a class position. And our position is that when you say what is wrong with the system, look at our educational system. Okay. Look at our health system. Okay. Look at the working conditions of the ordinary people of our country. And then you can assess for yourself, you know, that everything is very much wrong with the system that we are currently operating. And there's a need for a new political instrument that understands these conditions, okay? That poverty, inequality, and oppression are not natural, that they have, how do you call it? They have a basis in how the system is organized, and there's a need to organize workers around their own conditions so that we can advocate for a more better system that we'll be talking about going forward.
I'll come back to you on the political instruments you're talking about and how they seek to change the current system as it stands now. But let me go to Nana Appiah. Nana, how long has the SFG been in the system? I mean, how old is the SFG?
Well, the SFG as an organization has existed since the early 90s, 1992, 93. But to consider the SFG just as an organization just emerged without situating it within the proper historical framework of the struggle for a better and a just society would be a disconnect from the quest by people in any given society to struggle for a qualitative society, for a better society, decent health care, a better shelter, food, clothes, and so on within any given society. And throughout history, we've seen that at every epoch, human beings have struggled to shape the world that they live in for a more just and a more equitable society. It is within this framework that the Socialist Forum of Ghana in the 1990s, early 90s, 93, picked up the pieces, of course, after the overthrow of the Osagefo and in all the other experiments that took place in the 1980s, 1970s, picked up the pieces and started organizing to raise the banner of socialism and to reintroduce scientific thinking in our political discourse. So the forum has been around for more than 2 decades and has been working within the capacity and the environment which was available then. Now, the forum at this conjuncture thinks that it's important to reorganize, re-strategize, and in order to be responsive to the changing times and the environment.
Has the forum been able to serve the purpose of which it was formed?
Absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt about the gains that this organization has made.
Let us hear some of the gains.
First of all, the fact that today you have young people here discussing socialism, which many thought that was a dead theory, a dead philosophy, a dead ideology. And for us to be here today to discuss that, I'm sure that many of us who think that the fall of the Soviet Union by 1991 was a collapse of socialism. But today here, that idea, that approach to organizing society and building society is potent, is formidable, and it presents itself as a better alternative to this neoliberal capitalist, option that we are practicing today. So, one, the fact that the banner of socialism is being raised high is a major achievement that the organization has struck. In terms of real work, the forum, which started running the Freedom Center which was just, you know, a very small, modest place where we can engage in progressive ideas, run campaigns, and so on, has been a center that has nurtured many young people and has introduced a different dimension to our political narrative. You cannot talk about the discussion of Nkrumahism, you cannot talk about any discussion about the national question and so on, the campaigns about mining communities and how they are suffering from these multinational and many other campaigns against water privatization and so on, without not talking about the forum. The forum has been at the forefront in these campaigns. Additionally, one of the major projects that this forum has organized is the Legacy Project, which has sought to put the books of Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah in many public libraries and so on, which were out, you know, within Ghanaian, you know, intellectual frame. In many public libraries, there was no book of the Osagyefo. The forum organizer was a partner to the organization of the biggest Pan-African event in 2018.
Right.
And bring together progressive Pan-Africanists, you know, and left intellectuals and activists across the globe to discuss the future of Pan-Africanism and the future of the African people. Among many other popular and public events that has been organized, we ran a press which put forward, you know, progressive literature. One of the major publications which has become a major hot cake all over is the Fight Back, for example.
Yeah, I'm a distributor.
Everybody is clamoring. That's a work of the Socialist Front of Ghana, which is a response to the anti-Nkrumahist provocation.
Right.
So through our study, we are reproducing literature which is useful in correcting all these anti-progressive narrative which is being pushed forcefully down our throats. We're engaging real activism with communities that require us to be able to struggle with them, and so on and so forth. So any measure of success is relative, but for us, the modest benchmarks we set for ourselves, we think that we are on course, and our objective is not just, you know, a reform to the system that we find ourselves, but our objective is the qualitative transformation of society, a radical transformation of the society, a smashing of the capitalist system, and a replacement with a socialist option, which we believe is the best approach in organizing our society. And that we have been carefully building, organizing, studying to be able to build a better society.
Right, if you're watching us, keep your messages coming in on our WhatsApp, so text line. We'll make a time and read all those up for you, displayed on the screen. You can as well leave your suggestions, questions, and whatnot on our social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter at Pan African Television. We'll make a time and read all those up for you. Those of you who would want a copy of the Fight Back, kindly call 0240748782, 0240748782, and we'll make a copy available for you. It's just 25 cedis. Those of you in Accra can pass by Pan-African Television to get a copy. If you're outside Accra, you can call the number. We'll find ways and means of getting a book to you. It's just 25 cedi, and you can get yourself a copy. Now, Nana, I'll still stay on you briefly on the membership of Socialist Forum of Ghana. What is its membership currently?
Well, I can't say that we are over 3,000 now. We have representation now in 13 out of the 16 regions in the country. We are building gradually. We have representation on, you know, academic institutions, and though the quantitative numbers are important for us, the quality is equally important, and we pay attention to cadre formation and development, both of the intellectual and the practical aspect of the human development. And so, yes, we can, from the last check, although the organization is growing rapidly, we are in excess of more than 2,000 to 3,000 members. But that is not the measure. It is important that we indicate the qualitative numbers, but the quantitative numbers, but the quality is what our objective is. We are seeking to build an alternative which makes the masses the protagonists of their own change. And so forming a new man that has a different perspective to how to organize society and interpret society is crucial for us, and that is what we are committed to do.
You know, myself, I've been receiving calls, I mean, since I started advertising the fight back, both on the morning show and on this platform. There have been a lot of calls coming in. People would want to join the Socialist Forum of Ghana. What's the way?
Well, I think that there are laid down procedures for membership, like any organization.
Right.
What we have currently is that with all the over 25 collectives dotted across the country, you apply by visiting the collective, and then you are taken through the processes. You serve a probation, you'll be giving assignments and so on to practice. At the appropriate time when the collective thinks that you are worthy of being regularized and so on, it is done. And so there's a process. The first point of call is to reach out to your collective. For the people in Accra, I think the Freedom Center serves as the base for the Accra collective, which Comrade Tulu is the convener.
Right.
We are available on social media, and I think emails could also be sent to info@socialistforumofghana.org for whoever is interested, and then we'll go through the processes of membership.
Very well. Now, let me come to you, Blaze. I mean, in your submission, you talked about some political instruments and how those instruments seek to change the narrative, seek to change the system we are faced with currently. What are those political instruments?
Well, what we are interested in at the moment is the Socialist Forum of Ghana, which is now transitioning into a movement.
A movement, right.
Of course, you mentioned political parties, you know, but for the Socialist Forum of Ghana, like I did mention earlier on, it is a deliberate, conscious effort to build an organization that represents the working people of our country. It's not a spontaneous organization, and that's why there are laid down processes and procedures to become member. You have to be taken through cadre formation, your own personal development on how you can, you know, speak and represent and help organize the working class people of our country and of the world who are fragmented on the basis of a system that
how different is the Socialist Forum of Ghana from the labor unions? I mean, it's not the labor unions we have in this country.
Well, the labor unions and the principle of labor unions is that they want to represent workers.
Yeah.
Okay, but it is important to look at the labor unions and their history and what has happened to them currently.
Right.
Okay? We now have laws that is against the how do you call it, the solidarity among unions. So if one union is facing crisis, the other one cannot canvass and help, you know, raise the issues that they are coming. So you see that the labor unions are divided, you know, in the lines of their work and in the lines of, you know, various problems that the capitalist system have created. We are different to the extent that we are doing grassroots organization. And what that means is that we are interested in meeting workers even in the informal sector. So it's not about just teachers, it's not about nurses, it's also about generally unemployed people who are all part of the system that, you know, produces an unemployment. So we are a broader, we are more universal, and also we are not interested in matters just of Ghana. We are interested in workers beyond Ghana, because the socialist transformation will not just be successful only in Ghana. It must have links, it must have connection with other workers across the continent. So our scope is more wide, our scope is more intentional, our scope is more deliberate, and what sets us apart is the element of political organization,
right?
Which is aimed at allowing workers all over the world to understand the role of the, how do you call it, the neoliberal economy and how it produces the crisis that we are facing. Don't forget, in my earlier submission, I've already mentioned to you our description of the system that produces these outcomes. So our response to it is one that is global. Our response to it is one that, must really bring workers together with political organization and struggle. And that is the key thing. We are, because you will not overthrow the system if you do not struggle. And workers have been struggling historically. What is needed now is an instrument that understands the struggle of these workers, an instrument that can provide direction. And I'll give you an example. All over the world, there are massive protests of young people that is a response to the crisis of capitalism. What is missing is an organization that understands this crisis and that can provide a certain direction, because the people already are in struggle. You understand? So our organization is tailored on how we can understand the struggle of workers and to see how that instrument can help give a certain direction, to overthrow a system that produces all these crises that we are talking about.
Now, this organization, the Socialist Forum of Ghana, is one that, is tilted towards the ideologies of socialism. We live in a country where we have a political party that says that they are capitalists. They believe in, and of course, their ideologies, their way of doing things, depict, is a classical example of, capitalist institution, sort of. And they have a very huge following who believe in the said ideology and all of that. How do you intend to cite these people and make them understand that socialism is the way to go?
It has to do, it comes with a lot of work. And that is why an organization that understands the situation is critical. So the history of the Socialist Forum of Ghana has been a history of a conscious and deliberate attempt to understand this situation.
Yeah, okay? Right.
Now we are ready to do massive grassroots work.
Okay.
And then my colleague just Nanaya mentioned about the numbers. These numbers are not spontaneous. And that's the difference between our organizations and then bourgeois political parties.
Right.
All these numbers that Nanaya mentioned are not spontaneous group of people who just say, I want to become a member. These are people that the organization have taken through conscious training. Okay? Cadre training. They need to understand we have built a core and we have provided the framework that will allow us to do more work going forward. So ours has to do with a lot of work. And yes, I agree with you. The system has provided a situation where the masses of our people, all of us, have had to respond to these bourgeois political parties.
Exactly. Because if you look at the political parties in this country, there's not even a single political party that you would say this party is a socialist party. Except that you can talk of the CPP, but what's the CPP today? And these people are living highfalutin, bourgeois lifestyle and all of that, as one CPP guy would refer to them as. And isn't this not going to make the work of a Socialist Forum of Ghana extremely difficult? Getting Ghanaians and some of these followers of these parties to understand that, look, where you are the wrong place. You are not benefiting. They are using you to make themselves better and all of that.
Justice, Karl Marx was a very good friend of Engels. And when Marx died, at the graveside, these were the words of Engels, okay? And I want you to listen to me very critically.
Very well.
Engels said that men and women must first of all eat, drink, have shelter before they can pursue religion, politics, arts, and science. What this means is that food and water, the material life of every society, determines everything. Okay? And then, so if you study and you come down to our country, you have to ask yourself, what is the reality of our people in terms of the provision of food, shelter, and clothing.
Right.
And if you make that analysis, you will come to realize that the majority of our people are distressed. The majority of our people are unable to find decent accommodation. The majority of our people are unable to provide food and water, okay? And just recently, what was the minimum wage? It was increased by just 4%.
4%, yeah.
You've seen spontaneous movements coming up. These are all crises of how our material life is produced. So I would like you to understand that the system has already provided a fertile grounds for our work. The masses of our people are scattered around the provision of the basic needs of life. And we are going to make good use of that, those crises, because we must respond to those crises. Right now, the provision of water, the provision of health, the provision of education is on the logic of profit. We do not provide healthcare in Ghana because people need health. We do that because people can make money out of it. And why? You've heard of the provision of Sputnik vaccine.
Exactly.
How is it? It's organized around profit making. Education today is very expensive to provide education.
That's true.
So our people are already disgruntled. Our people are already clear about the conditions. We are not those going to tell them. What we are going to do is to provide an organization for them to continue the struggle and to fight for a decent, life that they deserve anyway. So,
yeah. Now, Blaise says something that I want to take your submission on. Is it that these people who are scattered all over are people who do not understand their own problems? Or is it a case that there hasn't been any organization like the SFG to be able to make these people understand the problems of our society and take the right decisions and all of that? It looks as if we are faced with all these challenges, these problems, as rightly mentioned by Blaise, but the people are still there. They are with them.
Well, Justice, I think that to understand the ideas, the thinking of any given society is fundamental to understand their material existence.
Right.
It is that which gives birth to how people relate and reflect over these things. And to that extent, it's also important that to understand the present, you need to bear in mind that the present is a product of the history. The history of mankind has been a history that has predominantly been a history marked by class conflict, or the conflict between those who own the means of production of generating wealth and those who have to labor and sell their brawn to be able to survive.
Right.
These broad groupings in society has always been at an antagonistic edge. To be able to understand the society, it's important to understand that the dominant ideas of that given society are the ideas of the ruling class. So the dominant ideas that we find today, that people take in, that we cannot do anything, we cannot change anything, we cannot shape our reality and so on, are not things that are from the people, but are things that have been inherited and given and pushed down and accepted by the masses of our people.
Right.
Now the idea is to empower the many people who are victims of this exploitative system. A system in which those who are even working harder are the ones that are exploited the more. The masons, the fitters, the teachers, the farmers, and so on. Recently, you've heard all this debate about the fact that the civil servants and public service and so on, their salaries should be slashed, they shouldn't get any salary increment and so on, and that they are contributing to the wage bill and so on. But Justice, the truth is that the politicians and Article 71 office holders make up more than 85% of the wage bill. But the narrative is that the workers who are calling for increment in their wages to be able to survive in the midst of inflation, in the midst of excessive taxation, and so on, are then blamed for the woes of the economy. The broader mismanagement of the economy, the lack of opportunity which many Ghanaians are struggling to find and so on, is pushed, and people are blamed for their own failures. So within the system, your inability to make it, as they call it, is your personal failure, rather than understanding that human beings are shaped and made by the environment. And so within whatever environment you provide them, you get the kind of people that you want. So it's usually simpler to blame people and to reduce the argument that, yes, people are exploited, but they do not know. I don't think that people are usually unaware of their situation. But sometimes the broader narrative, the society in which they find themselves and how it conditions the consciousness of the people makes them feel weaker and less powerful to be able to transform this reality. The alternative is to challenge the dominant narrative. The alternative is to challenge the dominant ideas and thinking, and to be able to bring out or to extract that power that exists in the masses of the people. And that is why we've been saying that the process of forming the new man that challenges the existing order and the status quo, the dominant ideas that serves the interests of the ruling class, is a painful, gradual process of study, of unlearning even these ideas that keeps you in subjugation. Is a process of struggling, because sometimes your mind is where your feet are standing. And so in the process of struggle, we form ideas, we challenge the norms and the values that we are used to. And that does not happen overnight. That takes a process of struggle and study within the framework of an organization that is clear to pursue these things along scientific lines.
Well,
that is what we are.
I was about to ask you that, look, the structure of our society in itself is one that, you know, from when you are born through to when you're growing up, you go to school, you go to church, everything is tilted towards the capitalist, you know, idea, sort of. And this is something someone has lived with for his entire life. You know, you may understand the situation, all right, but how to turn the situation around becomes another thing. And I think you've addressed that, but I think that is a difficult one, isn't it?
Well, I think nothing comes easy, Justice, and history is an important compass for us to be able to navigate these doubts. Throughout history, I don't think that the slave owners thought that the slave owning system will ever come to an end. They thought that it was eternal, it was God-given, the slaves were their slaves forever, that system will not come to an end. The slave owning system came to an end. Throughout history, when man was serfs and under serfdoms, the landowners and so on that owned all the power, the state machinery, the apparatus and so on, never thought that feudalism would come to an end as a socioeconomic formation, as a dominant socioeconomic formation. But today, feudalism isn't. Indeed, capitalism, which is the most recent, you know, having been with humanity for about 500 years or so, will push this narrative across. But if you study history and you pay attention to the development of human society and where we are today, I don't even think that the colonial, I wouldn't want to call them masters, colonial thieves, ever thought that colonialism would come to an end. But with the struggle of national liberation heroes, Sajefo, Jenklejo, and so on, today, at least, we have political independence. And many colonies struggled against their colonial masters and defeated them. It is this which serves as a guide to all well-meaning people that think that there's a problem with this system ought to change, and this system ought to be challenged. If even it is not for you, or you will not benefit in your lifetime, you owe it to your children, to your parents, to be able to contribute to building a better society in which our mothers can have decent accommodation, a society in which our children will be able to have decent meal and have quality education so that they can overcome, the barriers of nature for a better society. It is this idea of building something that we can be proud of as young people of this country, of building something that we can say has moved humanity with dignity in a certain part, that pushes us to make this effort in building something. We may not succeed, but even if we don't succeed, we would have made an attempt at an oppressive system that we think is repressing and subjecting us to the inhumane treatments that we get. I think that it is better to take an action at something than to sit and wonder that where will your salvation come from. It is always better to take a shot at it and learn the lessons so that even if people who will pick it up from you can learn from it. And we are clear. Once again, history has shown that wherever there's oppression and repression, people who are fighting for a just cause will always triumph. It may not happen now, but it will certainly happen. And we are sure that victory will be ours.
We are sure that victory will be ours. Keep your messages coming in on our Facebook. We are streaming live. We'll make a time and read all those out for you. Also, on our WhatsApp text line, we also read all those out for you. I played with my producers to get me the tablet, so I am able to read some of the messages that we are receiving and all of that. I'll read those that I have on Facebook pretty shortly. But I'll still stay on you, and I'll come to Blaze later. The issue is that SFG could have still remained a forum and be able to champion this agenda. Why transition to a movement?
Well, I think just as the forum started with just about 4 members. Now we have grown in size, in scope, in the nature of work we are engaged in, and also in order to be able to be responsive to the changing environment and the changing global situation. It's important to also sharpen the organization so that we can meet our objectives. If you have an organization with just 4 members, of course, your mode and procedure of operation will be different from when you have a membership over thousands. So this transition and this Congress that we are calling is to afford all members of the forum the opportunity to democratically discuss the issues, the future of the organization, to discuss what should govern us as a group with progressive orientation. It's to discuss which future we want to carve for ourselves within the next, the medium term, within the next 2 years till the next Congress or so. And then also to be able to fashion out what kind of disciplinary arrangement or code should guide us. So yes, a forum presents a platform to do certain things, but a movement with a different kind of characteristics and rules, conduct, constitution, disciplinary arrangement also present a different kind of. Forum is a very loose organization. Before, anybody that walks into the Freedom Center can just become a member and so on. But now things are different. We need to be able to coordinate our activities across the 13 regions of the country. We need to be able to have a collective leadership that is accountable at all levels to the base of the movement. And these will require that we go through some processes. And in that process, adapt for ourselves a new name that responds or reflects the changing dynamics of the organization.
Right, I'll come back to you now, Blaze. What different thing would the forum be doing from what the Socialist Forum, from what different thing would the movement be doing from what the forum, is doing currently?
Yeah, Nana has already shared that new conditions.
Apart from the conditions and dynamics, what are the differences?
Of course, we have to do more grassroots work. We have this number of collectives across the country.
Currently, as a forum, how many collectives do you have?
We have about 25 collectives.
Right.
Across 12 regions, 13 regions.
How many are you expecting to have under the forum?
Well, this new collectives under the new membership now requires a new political instrument that can handle these new dimensions. So what that means is that we still have to do more work, and that is why we are going into the standing committee is proposing this new structure. So when we go for Congress, the forum with the collectives that we have will decide whether the proposal that has been given by standing committee should be accepted or rejected. Okay, but we are clear that with the work that has been done, with the new energy across all our collectives, we should adopt this proposal by the standing committee so that we can continue to do the work that we are supposed to do.
Hold that thought briefly. Let me open the phone lines for our viewers. I mean, those of you who would want to call, those of you who would want to express interest and all of that, you can call us. The phone line is going to be displayed on the screen. You can give us a call and you bring in your submission. But let me ask my producers to see to that the phone line is open for our viewers to call. You can go ahead.
Yes, so, I mean, we cannot say that we want to open this number of collectives within this time. The formation of collective will always be determined by what work we have done on the ground. Okay, we are not a spontaneous organization. So it means we have to reach out, we have to move around, we have to engage. And political education is one of our major, instrument of work that we are going to be doing. So we have this number of collectives, a lot of energy. They are ready to work. They have received some form of training. And we are hoping that if this proposal by the standing committee is adopted, then it will inform. And then the how do you call it? The new structures has timelines and what direction standing committee intends to give to the organization. Okay, and if this is accepted, they will continue to provide the direction that we need to do the work that we want to do. We are not responding to, political parties' framework. Okay, we are an independent political organization. We have our ideology. We have our own pace, and what number of collective we set will determine on what work we have done on the ground. We do organic organizing. Okay, not just any mechanic.
You talked about political education, one of the things you engage in and all of that. In what nature and form?
Yeah, political education to the extent that people must understand the new colonial economy that we run. People must understand how wealth is generated in society. Wealth is not a function of, spontaneity. It's not a function of blessing. Wealth is a function of concrete production process and how that production is distributed. And people must know how wealth is generated in the country. People must know how our material life is generated globally and how that is distributed. Because a cogent knowledge of this will allow each of us to identify the role we play in society. People think that we are all equal. We are all guided by the role we play in the production process. And I think it is always important in the work that we do to expose, this hidden, production lines that is clouded by capitalist mode of exploitation and oppression. So our political education is centered on, first of all, our history.
So we have a caller. Your name and where you're calling from?
My name is Ambrose Azure from Bolgatanga.
Right, your submission.
Yeah, my submission, I want to contribute about the social...
I can hardly hear you. Can you speak up a bit, please?
I'm saying, my name is Ambrose, calling from Bolga. I want to know the criteria that you can join the social movement forum. I'm saying...
yes, we are listening, but I mean, I'll put my technical people to see to that the sound is very clear in the studio.
Movement.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was this part of our country. How can we join the social movement forum?
Well, we can hardly hear you. Thank you so much for your submission anyway. Please go ahead.
Yes, so I'm saying that, first of all, we need to know our history. We need to know how, when we say Ghana, how did we come by this Ghana? We need to understand that, okay? We need to understand how gold, our natural resources, how they are exploited, who benefits from these resources. Today we say that I am a Ghanaian, you know, I should be patriotic. What makes me a Ghanaian? What role do I play in the gold, in the diamond, in the cocoa that is exported outside this country?
Right.
You understand? So we need to let people understand how wealth is generated in society, who benefits from that wealth.
Hello?
We think that that is an important function.
We have another caller. Your name and where you're calling from?
Yes, my name is Comrade Najib and I'm calling from Achimota.
Go ahead with your submission. I'll ask, can you hold on, but where are the technical people? Please, can you work on the sound? We can hardly hear him from the studio, but go ahead with your submission.
All right. The little I want to say is that, especially to the youth who are watching this program, first of all, I want to thank your panelists because they are doing a wonderful or yeoman's job there.
Right.
We, the youth, would have to wake up to the reality that this NDC, NPP kind of politics is not going to help us. This is a new movement which is giving us an alternative on the way forward, on the way for us to build a better Ghana, united and fit for purpose. I mean, I'm really impressed by the submissions that both of them have given and the thought process. You know, it's important, and it would be very nice for us to be at Winneba. I think it's Winneba, right? That's
right. Yeah.
Where the is. And they must let us know how to join the Socialist Forum of Ghana and be a part of it. I'm impressed.
Right, thank you so much for your submission. We are so grateful for your time. Keep your messages coming in, and then you can also call and then bring in your submission. I'll go to Nana. I think our time is almost up, but let's now talk a bit more on the Congress. Where is this Congress being held, and when is this happening?
Well, the Congress is starting on the 31st, which is a Saturday, at Windy Bay Hotel, in Winneba,
right,
in the central region. We are expecting that the opening ceremony will be on Saturday morning, which is the 31st, and then we follow through with the various commissions and so on that are slated later in the afternoon.
Right.
We are hoping that the Congress will end by the 1st, which is the Sunday.
Right.
We'll have the closing ceremony, presentation of commission reports in the plenary, and collective resolutions and adoption of the relevant positions taken. So it's going to be 2 days, but there will be other activities leading to, pre and then post these two days that are for the main Congress activities. There will be central committee meetings by Friday, and then also other, bilateral engagements and so on as the Congress runs at par. There's also going to be a trade union forum where the other progressive trade unions will be engaged on possible areas of collaboration across the continent and possible struggles that they can pick together as workers, at the continental level, and many others. So there will be side meetings, there will be bilateral engagements, there will be the Congress itself, and we are hoping that by Sunday evening we should be bringing it to a close.
Who's qualified to be there?
Well, this is for members of the Socialist Forum of Ghana, primarily. They constitute the delegates to the Congress, and so each collective is bringing the designated number of reps to come to Congress. Aside at the opening ceremony, there are fraternal organizations that have been invited. There are some allied organizations that have also been invited.
Right.
Members of some unions, trade unions, have been invited. And we have international delegation from other, organizations that we fight on the same side with. As an internationalist organization, we take our internationalist obligations very seriously. And so there will be organizations from the sub-region at the continental level and from other continents participating in this activity. For the opening ceremony, again, just as we would have loved for just anybody to walk in, but of course, we are looking at numbers, there's COVID, and so on, so there's some form of restriction to ensure that we would not go against the science which drives this virus. And we are hoping that it's a historic Congress, and we are hoping that we'll have a successful event.
Well, thank you so much. Now, please, is there anything more you would want to add?
Just to say, I am so happy and thrilled about the direction that has been given to the organization by our standing committee. I'd like to thank our collectives across the country for their resilience and their positive response to this organization and the transition that we are about to embark. I'd like to thank all of them. We still have a lot of work to do. Hopefully we'll continue to work together after Congress. We'll continue to move across and unite the working class of our country and of the world who are bridled with exploitation, class oppression, and then inequality.
Well, a lot of people are watching us, and I think that some of the people who called were also asking once again of how to join the socialist front. I think we've spoken on that already. But if you reiterate that to our viewers, I'll be happy. From either of you, either Nanaya or yourself.
Well, I think just to say that I indicated earlier that you joined the nearest collective. I can run quickly through. We have collectives in Bolga, Tamale, Wa, Nkwanta, who.
So it means that those in the Upper East region can probably get close to the Bolga collective.
Absolutely.
Those here in Accra
can join the Accra collective. We have collectives in Koforidua. We have collectives in Winneba. We have collectives in Takrade, Takwa. We have collectives now in Sunyane, Goso. We have collectives in Kenya, and so on. So we have collectives in Kumasi, and then collectives even on the campuses, KNUST, University of Ghana, and other tertiary institutions. So all these collectives exist in different parts of the country, and depending on where you find yourself, once you reach out to us, we'll put you through the nearest collective, and then we take it up.
But I'm sure there are some of the regions that do not have any collective or whatsoever yet.
Yes.
How soon would the collectives get to some of those regions? Because there may be some people from some of those places who would want to join.
Well, I think that Blaise responded to this question earlier. It is important to lift the point up that we are interested in the quantity, but we are more interested in the quality and interested in the processes that lead to the formation of these collectives. You may have some quality
products in all these regions where...
I don't think that is a function of a quality individual. It's a function of the processes that lead to harnessing the potential of that individual. And to that extent, our real situation, the conditions, the pace at which we are moving, availability of resources, the timing, the movement, many factors determine how we move into a particular geographical location. We are ready to work with people who are willing for us to start something, but that will not be a sacrifice.
But somebody is badly willing to join the Socialist Forum of Ghana from a region that do not have a collective, and probably maybe at a region where no collective is close. How should that person, deal with such a situation?
I think that closeness is a function of relativity.
Right.
So it's you may be in Accra, but Accra collective may be in Kokomlimli, and you would be in Kaswa. You may say that is a distance. So the main thing is that a demonstration of commitment, if you are interested, there are some sacrifices that we need to all make at the initial stages.
Right.
And so, yes, there may not be a nearer collective to where you live, but again, there are processes for its formation. And I think that that is important in maintaining the discipline, in maintaining the quality, and also maintaining the objectives that we set for ourselves.
I am in Northeast region.
Right.
The closest collective is one that is in Tamale, that is in the northern region. I so wish, I'm so desperate, willing to join the Socialist Forum of Ghana. Unless I go to probably maybe Tamale, then I can join their collective because there's none at Northeast region. How do I deal with that situation?
Well, I don't think that in my communication I've suggested that collectives cannot be formed.
No, I'm not saying that.
Collectives
I'm talking about a recent time.
Yeah, can I make the point? Collectives can be formed, but we should not sacrifice the processes for just the numbers. And the point I am making is that yes, you may be far away, they may not be a collective, but the initial step is to make contact with a nearer collective. We start from that collective and we work to build, to establish that nearer collective which you are committed to building. And so we agree, we are welcoming people, but we also stick very strictly to the processes of establishing these organizations. We don't want just mushroom organizations springing up all over the place. In the end, it loses the essence for which the organization exists. And I think that for us, appearance is important, but the essence is more paramount.
And it's also about our capacity to deal with this collective.
Right.
So it's not just about the individual, it's also about the capacity of the organization to respond. And we are always calculating our capacity. What capacity do we have to respond?
Exactly. Now, your final words. I mean, what do you have for Ghanaians? Final words. I mean, from the two of you.
Well, I mean, we have mentioned it already. We are not satisfied with the current trends.
Right.
We are not happy with the conditions of our people, and we want to provide a platform for the continuous struggle of workers. Workers are already in struggle. We want to provide that platform that allows all of us to make demands and to push the political space to a level and to the interest of the working people. And we are unrepentant in this regard. We stand for workers, those who provide value, those who provide labor, those who work, but who do not stand to benefit from the work that they produce. And we want to form this organization, we want to build this organization based on the interests of workers. And like I said, it's always about Engels. What the workers eat, what they drink, and their shelter is very important. And that is what we want to push.
Right, thank you so much. The final word.
Well, Comrade has shared it, but I think that all I want to say is that we live in a country where today 90% of people employed, young people employed, are in the informal sector,
right?
Which you cannot even classify in many instances as being decent work. We have a situation where ISA is saying that 90% of young graduates that finish school cannot find jobs in the first year that they graduate from school and do not know where the next job is going to come from. We have a situation in which women that constitute more than half of the population of the country are not in a position to be able to drive the progress of this society. We live in a country in which there's absolutely, an acute housing shortage. We live in a country today where we do not know where the next meal is going to come from for many people.
Right.
This cannot be just by chance. This is as a result of a systemic, endemic arrangement that reproduces this. We are inviting all Ghanaians to join us to be able to find questions, to question these arrangements, and to collectively find solutions to this arrangement, and to struggle to transform this arrangement for a better society, for ourselves and for our children and for the next generation.
Guys, thank you so much for your submission. I'm so grateful for your time. Blaze, thank you, and I thank you. I'm so grateful that you've joined me on this platform tonight, to discuss this very important issue as part of the activities of a Socialist Forum of Ghana, very soon to be Socialist Movement of Ghana. Is the Wednesday Palaver on Pan-African television every Wednesday. You can tune it to watch that particular program on Pan-African television. I think it starts at 5:30 to, is it 6:30? 5:30 to 6:30. Some wonderful and very important issues are discussed over there, and that is to look at how best we can get the ordinary Ghanaian to live a better life. Make a time with us same time tomorrow. Once again, the show has been Hot News, and my name is Justice Appiah. Goodbye.
After 20 years of activism, the Socialist Forum of Ghana is in transition to the Socialist Movement of Ghana, which will hold its first National Delegates Congress in Winneba from Friday, 30th July to Sunday, 1st August 2021.
The Congress will be held under the broad theme, a new platform for socialist transformation, and will be attended by delegates from all the collectives of the Socialist Forum of Ghana spread over all of the country. This conference would approve a new constitution for the socialist movement of Ghana and also adopt a working program for the movement. It will consider international and national issues as well as prepare the framework for the mobilization of the youth and women. This is indeed a historic Congress.
This is a time for the reawakening of a socialist movement of Ghana. It is time for the realization of the vision of Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and our forebears who fought to liberate Africa from the yoke of slavery and colonialism. It is time to build the Africa we want and to struggle for a world free from oppression and exploitation.
Fraternal progressive organizations, the trade unions, women and youth organizations have been invited to the opening of this historic Congress on Saturday, 31st July 2021 at the Windy Bay Lodge in Winneba, 8:30 a.m. There is victory for us.